Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Don Odells Legends. My name is Art Tipaldi. I'm the editor of Blues Music Magazine. Check us out online at bluesmusicmagazine.com or on our Facebook page where we have CD reviews and profiles of artists. And I think our newest current magazine, we have a CD review of Victor Wainwright's new CD, The Train, I should say. But I just have to say, we talk about special people who come here, and Victor is special on many counts. We have a award-winning piano player for the Blues Foundation Blues Music Awards. We have the third member of Southern Hospitality coming in here. We've already had two, Damon and J.P. Soares, so we complete that triangle. I noticed today, looking through your history, you're smiling there, but you've been nominated for 8 Blues Music Awards, starting in 2013.
Has it been that many already?
Yeah, and you've won 6.
Oh, my goodness.
Has the journey been as meteoric as that would suggest? That in 5 years, you've copped 4 piano player, 1 band, and 1 entertainer of the year.
That seems about right, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
It
is. I do my research. Has the Victor Wainwright journey been that meteoric a rise?
I honestly don't pay too much focus to that, man. I just try to stick with the band and of course play good music. I know every band that probably comes in here says the same thing, but it really is true for us. You know, I don't focus too much on the accomplishment so much as how I feel personally the music's evolving.
Right.
And I think for us, the music has carried us forward in a meteoric way.
Yeah.
From humble beginnings to where we are now. I think that I'm very happy with the music that we're coming out now.
Right.
But also I think that the individual members of the band are really
gelling.
Yeah. They're really gelling and they're really communicating, and we're talking the same language musically.
Right.
And we're all eager to explore, we're all curious. And we're giving each other space to do that on stage and also often in the writing room and in the studio.
Sure. How is this band different from the Wild Roots?
It's still not that different. You know, a lot of the same members are also participating in this new project. And basically the only thing that distinguishes this project from the past is that I've decided to produce this project.
Exactly.
And write most of the songs on it.
Right.
Produced it along with my friend Dave Gross.
Okay.
And the partnership that I have with Stephen Deeds with Wild Roots is still very healthy and very active. Yeah. And he actually helped me write a couple songs on the album, 2 of a lot of people's favorite songs on the album. So he and I still plan to do stuff in the future. And
good.
I have a lot of faith that the Train is still going to do things as well.
Right.
I think in this industry, you really do have to have a lot of irons in the fire.
Right. Does that include Southern Hospitality as another iron in the fire?
Oh, always.
So
I just did a show with Southern Hospitality, and we have at the Bender in Vegas coming up. We're doing another Southern
You'll be out there.
Show.
Will you be also playing as the Train out there?
I will.
Okay.
With
So
the 6 pieces.
so keeping 3 balls in the air is what are the challenges of that for you as the conductor of this
thing? I
thing?
think that you have to usually you have to focus on one thing at a time. It's really hard to you end up getting yourself spread too thin.
Right.
And right now, of course, our focus is on the Train and our new records and a new record deal with Roof Records. So
right.
We got a couple more records to do with that.
Excellent. Good.
It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But with Southern Hospitality, I still do the occasional gigs. And with Wild Roots, with my partnership with Stephen Dees, we're actually about to release a record on Wild Roots Records for Patricia Dees, his wife.
Okay.
And which I'm playing on and stuff and guesting on as well.
Right.
So that's still staying active.
Yeah.
It's just most of my energy and focus touring on the road and writing and stuff is focused on my 6-piece band, The Train, right now.
Right. And that's what makes this band different from the Wild Roots is that it's 6 pieces, right?
Well, sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 6. The Wild Roots is also 6, sometimes more.
Okay.
I think what the main difference and the only difference really is that I've chosen to write most of this material myself, and it comes from me direct.
Right. I was going to ask you about that because I went back and I was looking at your previous stuff, and of 41 songs on those 3 previous albums, Steve wrote 35 of them, some of them co-written with you.
Yeah.
This one, it's all you.
Yeah. Well,
and a few co-written with him.
Exactly.
What did you learn about writing?
I learned
through
a tremendous amount of writing, tremendous amount about writing from Stephen.
Right.
I think one of the most important things to remember too is that I was doing air traffic control. I was doing schooling in air traffic controlling through a lot of that as well.
Really?
While we were still working and writing, and Stephen was writing, and I was also on the road at the time, and Stephen was writing.
Right.
So he and I have this awesome partnership where he was writing a lot of the songs, and I was able to take them and make them my own. And he was thinking of me as he was writing the songs.
Oh,
of course,
cool.
and writing
Sure,
for
sure.
my voice. And
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But I took the material, made it our own with his help, and I think I'm really proud of what we did.
Oh, absolutely. Well, look
But
at the
I have a
awards.
little more
and
time
Yeah.
to write songs these days, and also to take what I learned from Stephen and apply it to the craft.
Right, right. Are you finding now that because you're writing the songs, they're more connecting with your soul
I think
than when Stephen was writing?
I think that you can. Sometimes I think that's a trap because a lot of people would say yes, right away they can say yes.
Right.
But I think that when you have someone like Stephen who's got you in mind and is writing for you, then of course you're going to be able to connect with them, especially with a friend like Stephen and I are very
Right.
close.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, it can be said that for me, when I'm writing, when I'm sitting down and writing a song, I could feel more closer to it just because I've been working on it for so much longer.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Or and you're giving something of yours that away to the world, and it also can feel a little bit more vulnerable since you wrote it.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
also is a special feeling and something
Right.
that I like.
Right.
So there's merits to both.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I look forward to
Yeah.
both writing with other people,
Right.
and writing on my own.
Sure. So what have you learned about producing from Stephen? He's produced the first three
Yeah.
for you, and now again, it's like you've taken this coat off and you're sort of saying, okay, now I'm going to try and put these other coats on, the writing, the producing.
Yeah. Well, I think for a lot of artists, like self-producing and writing is one thing that you can do. But there's a lot of things that you can do.
Yeah.
You could hire this producer or work with this person you've always wanted to work with, or
Right.
or do it all on your own because
Right.
you just want to say some things or you want to give it a shot and want
Yeah.
to try to see what happens. I had worked on doing some producing for Nick Black. And
Okay.
also with Jeff Jensen's
Oh
record.
yeah,
doing
right.
some
That's
stuff
right. Sure.
With vocals.
Did you any producing with Mick Colassa too, or no?
No.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there's a circle of friends and stuff that I was trying things out too
Right.
before getting in to the studio on my own stuff and producing. But also, I did learn a lot from Stephen, and I learned a lot from Dave Gross, who also co-produced
Sure.
this record.
Yeah.
He and I
Dave
worked
is great.
closely together, trying to find what the best way to work with our guys was. That's, what is producing? You
Yeah.
know, like when you really break it down, it's
Yeah.
how do we get the best performances
Right.
out of these guys and captured on tape?
Right, right.
And how do we most ideally match what we're hearing on our own heads as writers or as producers to what we want from the band?
Right.
And then being open to their interpretation as well.
Yeah.
And following sometimes their lead and being willing to follow their lead. And because I have such a great group and a great team right now, that's very, very easy. It's something
Yeah.
that I'm looking forward to continuing for a little while.
Yeah. Is it difficult being the producer and also being the vocalist and the songwriter?
Yeah,
and
it can
I mean, how do you separate those two jobs? How does the producer bring out the best in Victor?
Well, I think that, and again, in something like this, when it comes to me and Dave working together, that's why I chose to co-produce this record, so that
Okay.
I can have a second voice that I can bounce things off of, or say, hey man,
Yeah.
what do you think about that vocal take? And
Right.
Dave's able to say, I think you got another one, or whatever producers say.
Yeah.
Usually we both
Yeah.
are in agreement, like let's just do another
Yeah,
track.
yeah, yeah.
There's sometimes that he does hear something, or that Stephen will hear something and say, hey, why don't you try this just for kicks? You
Yeah.
know, sometimes that's the best idea.
That's cool, sure. I've always wondered how songs that you write change in terms of an arrangement or a delivery or a musical style from the birth of it to the studio.
It's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
In the past, I did things differently, but in this record, what I did was I started with my phone and I started press record. I would sing something into the phone. Almost every song that ended up on the record that I wrote
Right.
started that way.
Yeah.
With a melody.
Okay.
Okay, and then I would take that melody and let the band hear it and say, I'm thinking something like this with drums, or I'm feeling like this, what do you think? And listen to them. And then later, if they liked it,
Yeah.
I'd go and start flushing it out and,
Right.
and maybe adding some lyrics or seeing what would happen. It really just evolved like that. And what
Okay.
we would do is use sound checks and low pressure shows
yeah.
to try things out and
Right.
to see, okay, the audience.
Because that's the other thing
They didn't care so much about that
yeah.
one, but they really like this one. Or
Right.
they really like this part of this song.
Right.
So what was really neat about the writing experience on the train for me was that I was able to try a lot of things out, not only on the band, but also on audience.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
ended up allowing me to set aside certain things and focus on certain things
Sure.
that I felt
Right.
they would enjoy more.
Yeah, because that's the other thing I think about is workshopping a song. And a lot of times I interview people here or for Stories in Blues Music Magazine. They go, oh, we were going in the studio and I only had one song and we wrote it in the studio. And I'm going, well, when do you get a chance to test drive it?
You don't really get a chance to test run it when you approach making records that way. But
right.
I don't diss that way either. There's a lot of friends of mine. Southern Hospitality kind of did that. With
Spontaneity sometimes.
It is kind of cool, but for all of my records I've done in the past, we've never done it that way.
Yeah.
I've always felt like the pressure should be off of the studio situation.
Yeah.
As in, no one's really worried about the clock so much. And we're all just, and that's the worst time to try to be creative when there's a clock running, Sometimes you just don't want to. I'll do it tomorrow, whatever else it is. So it's like, with the method that we chose, we were able to get in. The studio experience was very positive. A lot of times when there's pressure and stuff, you can really start to hear the misery on a record. Like, you can hear it coming across.
Sure.
Lines
that
the musicians are playing or
forced
vocals.
verses. Yeah, exactly.
It just feels a little stiff.
Yeah.
So I've always preferred to do it in this way, so that there's less pressure. Really.
Exactly. Yeah, and it gives you as an artist a chance to, work through a song and get it as perfect as you can. Now, granted, I know as a writer, I'm always going back on, oh, I want to change. Even when it's in the magazine, I want to change it. Do you get that same thing with some of the songs where you hear?
There is a point at which you have to just let go. But I think like for us, when it came to recording these songs, I had decided myself that I wasn't going to look for perfect at all. What I was going to look for was a feeling. And if I felt something, listening back to the tracks, then we would go with it.
Right.
If I didn't feel it, whether it was a melody or a horn line or anything, it didn't make it on the record. We just kind of made that agreement. I made that agreement with myself that that's how it was going to be.
That's good, sure.
But luckily, everything that was played, there was so much that was good that came pouring onto the tape that there wasn't any problems.
That's very cool, yeah. A piano player. We get a lot of guitar players in here. We get few piano players. When did the piano become part of your life?
Well, my grandfather played the piano well before I was born. And my dad played in his band along with my uncle and other extended family and friends.
Yeah.
So when I was born, I was kind of born into all of it. I learned to carry an amplifier pretty quick and also take my dad's guitar out of the closet and open it up. That was all, and then of course seeing them live was just bigger than life. Family gatherings, getting together where music would be played, or Granddad would sit at the piano, or just around the house and Dad strumming the guitar. It was very musical for me. So as I was growing up and listening to all these things, of course, there was zero chance that it would just pass me by. So I was immediately drawn to the piano. I don't know really why, but my mom really early on decided to get me some lessons. Or my parents did, and my grandmother on my mom's side also taught me a little bit of piano lessons early on. Eventually, my grandfather, when they felt I was to the point where I could understand the instrument, took over and said, "All right, everything that you've learned so far, set that aside. That's good. I'm going to show you how to play boogie woogie."
Oh wow!
And it's all history from there.
Wow! Yeah. In learning boogie woogie, were you learning live from grandfather, or were you listening to records too?
I was listening to records, but I was mostly learning from my grandfather. My dad actually did a very smart, interesting thing. One of the first pianos I got, which I still have, was a Clavinova type of electric piano made by, I think it's Yamaha. But it was made, and it's got all these internal electronic stuff. It's an electronic piano. The first electric piano I have.
Really? Yeah.
I had other previous acoustic pianos. But on this piano, it had little lights, little tiny LED lights above the keys, green and red, green and red, green and red. And it had an A disc drive. Remember the hard disk drives?
Yeah.
So you could put that disc in. My granddad could play, and I would learn from him there. But when he left, I could hit rewind and play, and it would show me the lights above the keys. Now, a lot of people don't know. They say, "Oh, Vic, can you do this Otis Span? Can you do this Pine Top? Can you play an E flat? Can you do a F sharp boogie?" No, I can't do those things. I learned. I know how to play like my grandfather, and that's it. I know how to play like him, and I've listened to a lot of records, and I jumped right into band music and started doing my own songs that fit what I knew how to do.
Wow.
And all my focus
Yeah.
since then
Yeah.
has been on entertaining and
Yeah.
singing and writing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then developing records.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. You mentioned Pine Top. Did you get a chance to ever play with him or watch him?
Yeah, of course. I got some chances to play with Pine Top.
I mean, I would
and
probably
hang and meet with Pine.
Yeah, would we put him at the top of your piano mentors who you got to see live besides your grandfather?
I mean, wouldn't necessarily call Pine Top a mentor.
No.
Because I didn't.
An elder?
Well, of
Yeah.
course, yeah. I think, there's certain deities amongst the blues community when it comes
Yeah.
to certain instruments.
Yeah, yeah,
okay? So
sure.
like Pine Top and Otis Spann, obviously two of the most recognizable names when it
Right.
comes to blues music,
Sure.
especially electrified blues
Exactly.
music.
But you did get to see Pine Top and not Otis Spann.
I didn't get to see
Yeah.
Otis, of course,
Yeah,
but I
right,
got to
right.
see Pine Top.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
dad took me to a festival in Georgia. I think it was near Marietta or something, but it was a little festival, and they had a classic shack stage, which is in the woods and it's with a tin roof and a shack.
Sure.
And they had a piano on it there, and Pine Top came out with his bottle of whiskey, and he was smoking cigarettes, and he was playing boogie woogie stuff. It was just him.
Mm-hmm.
But what was so cool is the people that were dancing around the front of the stage there was no. I mean, it was just dirt,
Yeah.
but they were kicking up such a dust cloud.
Right.
And I remember being next to a tree and climbing up kind of on the tree and peering over so that I could see Pine Top play on this group of people dancing with this dust cloud. And I thought that was the coolest thing.
Sure.
Because to me, that was just like what my granddad did.
Yeah,
but just
yeah.
slightly different.
Right,
It's
right.
Just another slight angle. Instead of honky tonk, it's boogie woogie. Instead of genuine rock and roll, it's sped up blues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's entertaining, and that's what you say.
Extremely
Yeah,
entertaining.
yeah,
Just like my grandfather, Pine Top was very entertaining.
Sure.
I got to Pine Top was not only a great piano player, though. What a personality and what a
Exactly.
beautiful person.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I really appreciated those times I got to meet and talk with him too.
Well, it's so interesting to see the music live, from Pine Top, from your grandfather, as opposed to people who are just learning it off of a record or on YouTube even.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
pretty amazing. Like with recordings, especially.
Yeah.
You can run into certain. I couldn't even name a name.
No.
So certain piano players, though, that will play a boogie woogie from an Albert Ammons boogie or something,
Yeah.
So perfectly to the notes,
Right.
that they play the mistakes. And I'm not saying that those guys. That's me going, oh, they made mistakes.
Yeah.
But they play stuff to where you have to question whether or not that was even initially intended.
Sure.
On whether they're really interpreting the piece or playing from the heart.
Right.
Because they're playing from the records. And,
Yes,
and
yeah.
I'm really thankful for the time I got to spend with my granddad at the piano.
Yeah, yeah.
The little time that I spent with Pine Top, and other piano
Yeah.
inspirations that
Yeah,
came.
yeah.
Reverend Billy C. Words was a big
sure.
inspiration for me.
Nice.
Not only as an entertainer and on stage and how he could command a room and entertain a crowd, which was super top notch, but
Right.
also piano playing.
Yeah, yeah.
He learned, of course, from some masters, and I was able to pick up some things that he would show me on piano. But I'm not a very fast learner when it comes to piano, honestly. I mostly play like myself, and I just always have.
Right, you play what you're good at, and
I play what I know, and I hope it's entertaining.
Yeah. Somebody once said, when you hire me, this is what you get. And
This is what you get, yeah.
That's really interesting because you are such a forceful entertainer that's what really captivates people and audiences, I think, is the entertaining that you do. And I was thinking about the cruises where I see you oftentimes. You're like the go-to entertainer vocalist who everybody calls up on stage, whether it's Danielle or Dawn Tyler Watson.
I don't know about all that,
but what do you have to call upon to get up and deliver a song in that impromptu moment the way you do?
I think for me, it's about the experience that I'm going to share with whoever called me up there. Usually, it's a friend. you know?
Yeah, that's right.
In the case of Danielle or
yeah.
most of the bands that would call me up to do something, we know each other, and it's about sharing that experience and looking out from the stage and seeing a crowd and being proud of one another and being thankful for the opportunity of us being able to do this together, but then also knowing that we want to entertain this crowd.
Right.
We want to sing the best that we can to entertain. It depends on the song, though, from where it wells, wells up, from you. I mean, If it's a slow song, it could be something, or
Yeah.
if it's a faster song, it could be something else.
Right. Yeah. Well, speaking about the cruises, you and I did a wonderful piano workshop
Yeah,
on the cruise
that
back
was
in
really
January.
cool.
That was a lot of fun, and to see 6 piano players and 3 pianos, and you guys were doing boogie woogie, and yeah.
That was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
That was really, really, really cool. And I know that they've done that in years past with guys like Mitch. And,
Right.
Awesome piano players.
Yeah. You talked about humble beginnings before of the band. What's the touring? Why is the being on the road and touring so important to you in these last 10 or 12 years?
I think touring is important. Number one, of course, you have to want to entertain people. You have to have that want and that drive. You have to want to play with the people that you're going out on the road playing with, too.
Okay.
You have to be healthy enough to tour.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to feel good touring,
Yeah.
mentally and physically. Touring is definitely the hardest aspect of anything that I do.
Really?
It's harder than writing.
Yeah.
It's harder than producing or doing records. Touring is the hardest part. But from the time I get up and have to check out of a hotel to the time that I can drive however many miles and get to the gig and set up and do sound checks or interviews and then eventually play, it all becomes worth it as soon as I can play the music.
Right.
It all becomes justified
Yeah.
and completely checks off a major box that needs to be checked each day, which says
For you, yeah.
I'm able to play, express myself, invoke whatever feelings I'm having out of this instrument,
Yeah.
and celebrate that conversation back and forth with an audience
Right.
that is willing, and if they aren't, I'm going to try my best to make them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically say, hey, please listen to us.
Yeah.
We're going to have a great time. All you got to do is try.
Right.
And what we want to do is make it to where they don't even have to try.
Sure. And like you said earlier too, there's this growth of you through the touring, writing songs, seeing how it plays out with an audience. So that's got to be something every band has to recognize.
It is, and I think that every musician recognizes too. I particularly do, that you're not a self-made person. You know, along the way, people have helped and mold and contributed to where you are now, and eventually when you get there,
Right.
you have a tool set.
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, and then you could meet more people and collaborate and continue to go
Right.
forward. I mean, that's life, right?
Yeah,
That's a
exactly,
musician.
exactly.
Each record that we do is a totem of time and the ability for us to go back in time.
That's right.
Every human being wants to do that.
That's right.
One way or
That's-
another.
yeah.
We wish we could go back in time.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
with records are a way that we can do that.
Sure.
I think Jim Dickinson said that.
Yeah, that's why they're called records, because they're a record of that time. Yeah, I've always thought that. That's great. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Victor Wainwright and The Train tonight on Don Odells, the new record on Roof Records.